we have the Towering Inferno, standing 6 feet 6 inches tall, Sebastian Fundora, back in action after his Fight of the Year candidate against Erickson Hammer Lubin. He takes on the very determined and in the midst of a 12-fight win streak, Carlos Ocampo from Ensenada, California, Baja California, Mexico. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to let you know that tickets are available right now on AXS.com. The event presented by Premier Boxing Champions, promoted by TGB Promotions and Samson Boxing. And now it gives me the great honor and pleasure to introduce a man who has won 12 straight since losing at the hands of Errol Spence Jr. some years ago. He has looked fantastic in recent memory, including getting some big victories by stoppage here in 2022. And he's looking to hand Sebastian Fundora the first professional loss of his career. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Carlos Ocampo. Carlos, how are you?
Hola, ¿qué tal? Buen día.
Hi, how are you, everybody? Good morning.
Can you tell us about what your thoughts are heading into your main event matchup against Sebastian Fundora?
Bueno, contanos cuáles son tus sensaciones iniciales de cara a esta pelea contra Fundora. Le estás tratando de quitar el invicto, venís de racha. ¿Cómo te sentís?
Me siento bien, me siento muy fuerte, muy preparado para este combate. Creo que estamos haciendo una muy buena preparación para la pelea.
I feel great. I feel ready. And I gotta tell you, I'm really confident in the kind of training camp and preparation that we're having for this fight. We're in great shape.
All right. Thank you very much to Carlos Ocampo. We're going to talk with him in a few moments. And now I am introducing a man who captured the interim WBC championship at 154 in his last outing. What a performance by the Towering Inferno, Sebastian Fundora. He's just 24 years of age, trained under the guidance of his father, Freddie Fundora. It's a fighting family in the Fundora family. His sister also is a prize fighter as well. His record, 19 wins, no losses, 1 draw, 13 wins coming by way of knockout. When you think of a guy who's about all action all the time inside the ring, it is this man. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the undefeated, the Towering Inferno from Coachella, California, Sebastian Fundora. Sebastian, how are you?
Great. How you doing, Ray? Everything's good.
Well, listen, Sebastian, listen, you're always smiling when you're not inside the ring. I'm smiling knowing that we get to see you compete again on October 8th at the War Grounds, Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, California. For you to main event at a venue that is so prestigious, that has so much history, that has been known to produce wars. You fought there before, but now you're in the main event. What does October 8th mean to you?
Oh, it's exciting. This is, the last fight was a main event, but this fight, I'm headlining myself. So I'm more than excited. I'm more than excited to show off in front of my fans right here in California, Southern California. It's practically home. And I'm ready. I'm ready for this fight.
What did you learn in that fight against Erickson Lubin? Because it happened in April. And I think, to me, it is without a doubt a viable candidate for the Fight of the Year here in 2022.
I felt, not that I learned stuff, I felt like I showed fans what I was made of. That's what I felt like. We just had to display ourselves in front of the fans. That's what I got from the fight, that we showed that we're really something in this division, that we're what we say, what we want to become world champions, we're really going to do it.
Now, for you, Carlos, what did you take away from that performance that Sebastian Fundora had against none other than Erickson Lubin? Obviously, people are raving about that performance that Sebastian had, but, what was your observation from the Towering Inferno?
Bueno, Carlos, ¿qué conclusiones sacaste de la pelea de Fundora contra Lubin? Lubin, un oponente de calidad para Sebastián, obviamente. ¿Y qué pensaste de esa pelea en la que fue muy dinámica y a Sebastián se lo vio muy activo, no?
Yo creo que fue una pelea bastante buena, la verdad. Pude verla, la disfruté. y fue una pelea dura para ambos. Creo que se desenvolvió muy bien Sebastián Fundora, hizo una gran pelea.
Y en el contexto de vos como oponente, ¿cómo crees que eso te encaja?
Pues encajamos bien, yo creo que vamos a hacer una gran pelea. Siempre dos mexicanos arriba del ring hacen una estupenda pelea.
I thought Sebastian fought really well against Tulovin. It was dynamic. It was an entertaining fight, and I enjoy watching it for sure. But I think that in my case, he actually fits my style really well. And I can tell you this: two Mexican fighters inside the ring, you're gonna see fireworks in there.
We got Martin Batzer, our translator, during this media conference call. And Martin, can you ask him why he feels Fundora has a very good style for him?
Bueno, dijiste que Fundora encaja bien con tu estilo y con lo que sería una batalla entre dos boxeadores mexicanos. ¿Por qué?
Porque somos peleadores que nos gusta tirar golpes y creo que siempre le damos al público lo que quiere, buscamos la batalla, buscamos la actividad y eso es algo muy bueno. Creo que haremos una muy buena pelea y creo que la gente se va a ir contenta sea cual sea el resultado.
You know why? Because we are both fighters that we like to get inside. We're not afraid to exchange punches, to brawl, and to give the fans what they want. I have a feeling that they're going to be very happy with what they see on October 8th, and that's what we hope for, to give a good show, to give people what they want, and for them to get a real good spectacle out of both of us.
Sebastian, pretty much when it comes to giving people what they want, I feel like you do that every single time you compete. When you hear the words of Carlos Ocampo saying, I like the fact that he throws a lot, I like the fact that he's a fellow Mexican, you're obviously fighting at Dignity Health Sports Park, the War Grounds in Carson. Is this a perfect stylistic matchup for you yet again?
I think so. I think he's a Mexican fighter as well. He has a Mexican heart. Of course, he's gonna go and try to bang as well. And it's a perfect fight for these fans, for Southern California, but not just for California, but for the world.
Sebastian, the last time you fought at the War Grounds, if I'm correct, was back in May. You fought Jorge Cota, and that to me was a wild fight over the course of, I think it lasted barely 4 rounds. Now, with this being your main event affair at the War Grounds, how much did that first experience there, not your first experience, but, being there the last time benefit you for this matchup on October 8th?
It just, I guess it got me used to the venue of the fans there. If you're not full of action, they're gonna tell you right away whether it's the boos or the, they'll fight in the stands themselves. It's a good crowd. It's a exciting crowd, and I'm just excited to put on a show October 8th.
I also feel like it's a very intimate crowd because the way that it's set up, the fans are pretty much on top of you. So is that a little bit different to get adjusted to as well? Because typically you're fighting in these big arenas that are, 20,000 seats, but this one now is more of an intimate 8,000 seats or less.
Actually, I kind of like that they're closer to the ring, but it makes no difference to me, honestly, anymore.
All right. Well, I know the media has questions for Sebastian Fundora, Carlos Ocampo. I don't want to go ahead and take away some of their thunder. I'm going to turn it over to a member of our outstanding PR staff, Andrew Roberts. Now, for the media members, if you have questions, when we call upon you, go ahead. We want you to raise your hand and then unmute yourself and then come out with a question for Sebastian Fundora, Carlos Ocampo. We got Martin Batzer, our translator, who will be handling the questions for Carlos Ocampo. Andrew, it's all you, my man.
Thanks very much, Ray. Our first question is going to come from Keith Eidick. Keith, please unmute yourself and you can ask your questions.
Thanks, Andrew. My first question is for Carlos. Carlos, what are you looking to prove in this fight? after the way your last fight on Showtime went, your really only exposure to American audiences when you fought Errol Spence Jr. What are you hoping to show people that you can do based on how that fight went?
Carlos, tu única pelea anteriormente en Showtime, tu única exposición al público estadounidense fue tu pelea contra Spence Jr. Entonces, esta es como una segunda oportunidad para vos de demostrar a la gente de lo que sos capaz. ¿Qué es lo que más te gustaría demostrarle a la gente de cara a esta pelea, en esta nueva oportunidad?
Me gustaría demostrarle que sí se puede, que vengo con hambre de triunfo, vengo a dejarlo todo sobre el ring, vengo a hacer una gran pelea y quiero ese título, la verdad quiero ese título, me he estado preparando para ello, quiero llevármelo a casa.
I want to show people that I'm hungrier than ever. I want to show them that I'm here to win the title and I'm going after it with all my might. I want to be able to grab that title and bring it back home to Mexico where it belongs.
Martin, can you ask him what went wrong in the fight against Spence? Maybe what mistakes, I know it didn't last all that long, but maybe what strategic mistakes did he make and what did he learn from losing a fight in that way?
Haciendo un poco de memoria para la pelea contra Spence Jr., ¿cuál fue el error fatal o el error táctico más evidente que sentís que cometiste durante esa contienda?
Me descuidé, la verdad, un descuido en los últimos 3 segundos para acabarse el primer round, y eso fue lo que pasó, simplemente un descuido. La pelea no se acaba hasta que suena la campana y fue un error de novatos que cometí en esa pelea y un error que no puedo volver a cometer.
Look, I made a rookie mistake. It was about 3 seconds left in the first round, and I got careless. I promise that's not going to happen again. It was something that I shouldn't have done. It shouldn't have happened, but I'm moving forward and I've become a better fighter for it.
Martin, can you ask him how maybe he feels better or how different he feels at 154 pounds as opposed to when he was competing at welterweight?
¿Cómo te sentís en este nuevo peso comparado con cuando estabas en la división del peso welter?
Me siento más fuerte, un poco más fuerte, más veloz y creo que este peso me sienta muy bien y aquí me pienso establecer un buen rato.
Not only do I feel stronger, but I feel faster as well. So I feel like this weight fits me like a glove and I'm ready to show why.
Martin, I just have one last question for Carlos. Can you ask him, to assess Sebastian Fundora, because he's an unusual fighter and that of course he's very tall for the weight class, but also, he has showed such resolve and he showed a strength and a lot of other things, a lot of other positive attributes that most fighters don't have.
That Fundora showed it or that Carlos showed it? Bueno, entonces Carlos, contanos qué opinas de Fundora, un boxeador que no solo se ha destacado por su golpe, sino que también es alguien que ha demostrado que tiene mucha garra, que le pone todo lo que tiene dentro del ring. ¿Cuál es tu descripción de él como rival, táctica y también quizás psicológicamente?
Es un rival muy fuerte, muy alto y tira demasiados golpes. Creo que es bastante bueno, es un muy buen rival. Muy buen peleador.
The bottom line is that Fundora is very tall, very strong. He throws a lot of punches, and I'm looking forward to fighting him because he's going to be a quality opponent, and it's going to be a quality fight.
Martin, thank you. Thank you, Carlos. I'll let someone else ask some questions.
All right. Thanks, Keith. Our next question is going to come from James Bell, Boxing Source. James, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
All right, I have one question for Carlos and one question for Sebastian. So first with Carlos here from Martin to translate. Given with him, having this many fights since the fight against Errol Spence, what is the one thing that, he has worked on over the course of those particular fights from that point to now, specifically this year with having 3 fights already this year?
Te has mantenido activo desde aquella pelea contra Spence Jr. Tuviste 3 peleas este año que, digamos, fueron un puente entre Spence y esto. ¿En qué te has enfocado más que nada para llegar bien pulido a este nuevo desafío durante estas peleas que tuviste en el interín?
En trabajar duro, en trabajar arduamente sin parar y cumplir el sueño que es tener el título mundial. Ese es lo que me motiva a conquistar el título mundial.
I just work hard and with my mind set on only one thing, earning the world title. That's my obsession. That's what I want more than anything in the world. And I've been working towards that during those fights that you mentioned. That's the only goal.
Gotcha. And for Sebastian, first thing was in your fight against Erickson Lubin, after that fight, you kind of like talked about your awareness when, you know, you pretty much went down to one knee in order to like stop the offense from Erickson Lubin. Kind of like go into that and like how you were able to like say, hey, I know I'm in trouble here. I don't want to get into that much trouble. So let me just take this one knee. I'll lose 1 point, but I'll get it back in the end.
Yeah, that round was, besides the knockdown itself, that round was all me, I felt. But I got hit with a good punch. I took a knee. I just needed to resolve everything again. I got back up, and then the round after, and then the round after that, I came back to my game.
Gotcha. Now, there was one point where we talked at Carson pretty much after the Charlo Casano rematch. And you kind of like seen the atmosphere that was there in that particular venue, like kind of like going to, you know, fighting there for this particular bout, or is it like you said, like, you know, it doesn't matter if it's like, you know, 1,000 or 10,000 people in attendance for your fight?
I hope everybody comes. I hope it's as electric as that, but it could be anywhere. I could fight anywhere. I could find my backyard. It's the same thing for me. I'm there to focus on the fight itself and put on a good show.
All right. Thanks very much, James. Our next question is going to come from Ishmael Abdul Salam. Ishmael, please unmute yourself and you can ask your questions.
Thank you. First question is for Sebastian. Sebastian, you've gone on record even after that great fight with Lubin. You said that you'd be willing to give him a rematch. And a lot of fighters wouldn't do that. They would say, let's wait a little bit. Let me get a title shot first. I want to know if you still feel like that, being that you pretty much most people consider you have a title shot looming, should you get through this fight going into 2023?
Yeah. We'll see what the promoters say to that. He just we took the ranking that we needed. We got what we got what we wanted from him. If the fans want to see it, why not? But I want to fight for the title. I think I deserve that. I'm the WBC mandatory. Of course, I have to fight Ocampo first and get this challenge done with. But after that, I want to fight for the title myself. I think I deserve the shot.
Got it. And we know your sister, she's your biggest advocate. She's going to be fighting on the card as well. I did want to ask you, I feel like with siblings, you always compliment each other. What would you say is her best skill in the ring that you wish you had in your repertoire?
Maybe we usually have all the same things. I don't know. She's practically the same as me. I just think her technique's a little bit better than mine. But other than that, we're pretty much the same.
Thank you. And last question is for Carlos. Carlos, you've been on this long winning streak, and we know a lot of times it takes that to change the fan perception coming off a bad knockout loss. I want to know, when did you feel during that knockout streak that you really changed the tide where people started looking at you as a legit contender again?
Bueno, Carlos, venís enrachado en un muy buen momento y quizás esta racha de knockouts es lo que vos necesitabas para cambiar también la percepción de la gente sobre vos. ¿Qué sentís que fue lo más importante durante esta racha para poder asentarte como un contendiente al título en serio una vez más?
Ganar mis dos últimas peleas que fueron por título continental y título continental de las Américas, título de las Américas del CMB, uno en Canadá y el otro aquí en México. Eso creo que es lo que me trajo hasta esta pelea.
I think the last two fights were huge for me. They both were title fights, one for the Continental title, the other one for the title of the Americas, one in Canada, one in Mexico. Exactly what I needed to get back here where I belong, ready to face a new challenge.
All right, perfect. Thanks very much, Ishmael. Our next question is going to come from Edward Couch with LA Times in Espanol. Edward, please unmute yourself and you can ask your questions.
Yeah, I have one question for Carlos and two for Sebastian. Carlos, después de esa derrota contra Spence en 2018, tienes una racha muy grande de victorias, pero ¿hay algo que aprendiste tú de esa pelea que te hizo retomar tu carrera de esa forma?
Sí, la verdad, creo que me hizo retomar mi carrera un poquito más pensante. Creo que un descuido arriba del ring es fatal. Te descuidas un segundo y se acaba la pelea y ya no pienso cometer esos mismos errores que cometí en un pasado.
The question from Edward was, what's the biggest lesson that you took from the fight against Spence Jr. in 2018 and that allowed you to be reborn in your career the way you have in the past 4 years? And Carlos said that, the biggest lesson that I learned was that I have to be more cerebral, that I have to think about things more, and that mistakes like the one that I made against Spence, where 1 second, just 1 second of being careless inside the ring, you can pay a very high price for it. That was a hard but necessary lesson to learn, and I'm not going to make that mistake ever again. Lesson learned, I can assure you that.
And the other question is for Sebastian. Sebastian, how ready do you feel for that you are for a world title fight?
Well, I think I've been ready since the last fight. I think I've been ready. We just have to stay busy while the champion's doing his thing, whatever he's doing. We have to stay busy and take these hard fights as well to continue to grow. Carlos Ocampo is another ranked fighter, and if we don't get Charlo the next fight, well, we have to fight another top contender as well, and continue to grow.
Sebastian, I'm also working on a story on your sister, and just wanted to ask you, what's the biggest advice that you've given her in boxing, and what's something that you admire about her the most outside the ring?
Well, the biggest advice I can tell her or anybody, and my father tells me all the time as well, is just to keep working, to stay focused on what you want in life, or whether it's the sport of boxing or again, life, and just continue with it. And what I admire from her is that she continues to listen to either to me or to my father. Our father guides us very well, and she's just a workhorse. And that's why I think she'll probably become a champion before me, if anything.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Edward. Our next question is going to come from Shava Rodriguez with ESPN Deportes. Shava, please unmute yourself and you can ask your questions.
Hello, everyone right here. Saludos, Carlos. First question for you. Primera pregunta para ti, Carlos. ¿Qué tan diferente es este Carlos Ocampo al que enfrentó su primera pelea de campeonato? Ya sabemos que muchos recuerdan o tienen fresco ese recuerdo de Errol Spence. Pero ¿qué tanto has cambiado física, mentalmente, técnicamente?
Yo creo que he cambiado bastante, tanto he madurado física y mentalmente. He madurado mucho, he trabajado en mis errores y creo que lo podrán ver el 8 de octubre, lo mucho que he trabajado en ello.
The question from Chava was, what has been the biggest change between the Carlos Ocampo that fought for the title for the first time compared to now? And Carlos was saying that I have matured physically and mentally as well in more ways than one. I feel like a different person. I feel like somebody that has made great strides, and you're gonna be able to see that on October 8th, because this fight you're gonna see the best version of me.
Y segundo, ¿crees que se te subestima un poquito, Carlos? O sea, porque los que estamos ahí más cerca de la escena de México, o que hemos seguido tu carrera, te conocemos un poquito más, sabemos de tus triunfos, pero ¿crees que se te puede subestimar hasta cierto punto el hecho de que todo el mundo te pregunte por esa derrota de Spence?
Sí, yo creo que me subestiman mucho por una derrota, por un descuido. La verdad, yo sentí que fue un descuido. y a todo mundo le puede pasar, son errores que pasan y que no volverán a pasar. Todo el mundo me clasifica por esa pelea, pero no soy el mismo de antes. Creo que venimos en buena forma, tanto física como mentalmente, para dar un gran espectáculo y una muy buena pelea.
The question from Chava was that you're the underdog, Carlos, but at the same time, do you feel that you're underestimated on top of that by people that only see you from the fight against Spence? And Carlos was saying that I'm definitely feeling underestimated. And it's funny how just one mistake that I made 4 years ago can shape the perception that people have of me right now. And I can tell you I'm a completely different person. And you're going to see how I have matured both physically and mentally. And the fans are going to have a great show from me and actually from both of us during a great fight that you're not going to want to miss.
And for Sebastian, gracias, Carlos. And for Sebastian, can you explain us something about your heritage? Because, everybody seeing you with Samson Lekowitz, everybody thinks that you are from Uruguay, but you have Mexican blood, Cuban blood. So can you just be specific about that, Sebastian?
Yes, my father's Cuban, my mother's Mexican. But when it comes to the ring, I feel like my Mexican blood comes out. My sister fought a couple of times, probably half of her career in Mexico City. We always go there every year. We've been going there for the past 2-3 years, and it's just been I've been learning more about the Mexican culture. I'm learning a little bit more Spanish when I'm forced to speak it as well. But I'm excited to fight another Mexican fighter. 2 Mexicans headlining on Showtime. It's great for Southern California.
That was my second question for you, Sebastian. It's a dream come true, right? Being the main event and right now defending your interim belt and looking for the full belt in the next one. We hope so. But how do you feel about that? How different it's being like a challenger and right now the defending champion?
It feels good. It feels like all my hard work is paying off. My sister's fighting as well on the card. Not only does she get a fight in front of me, but I get to fight in front of her, and it's just gonna be a great night. October 8th is gonna be a great night for us.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thanks very much, Shava. Our next question is going to come from Jake Donovan, boxing scene. Jake, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Thanks, Andrew. I appreciate it. Sebastian, so you mentioned that obviously I know you focus fully on Carlos Ocampo. You mentioned the possibility that you might not get Charlo next because you're one of 4 mandatories waiting. How active are you willing to be, like even if you're not first or even second, to get that title shot?
Well, I'm just going to focus on my career. I'm not focused on what the champion is doing. Once the opportunity presents itself, I'm going to take that chance. But right now, I'm just going to focus on my career. We have Carlos Ocampo, and then if not next to the champion, we'll fight someone else. If I can fight up to 3 times a year, 2 times a year, that's fine. But we want to keep fighting and stay busy. So when the challenge presents itself, we can take it with no problem.
Perfect. So I know a lot of fans, they're not as familiar with Carlos Ocampo as like true hardcore fans and industry insiders. For you, like, have you seen, how much of Ocampo have you seen since that, 1 round with Errol Spence?
Well, we've been watching his career. Of course, with the first time on Showtime with Errol Spence, of course, who hasn't seen that, but we've been noticing that he's been on an 11th win streak, just like the opponent before. He's been on a win streak. Of course, we're not going to let it continue, but he's been on the rise again, and he's been he's a ranked fighter, and I'm sure he's gonna put on a great show with me, and we're gonna just put on a great fight for you guys again.
Great. And then my final question: so you and Gabriel, you finally get to fight on the same show. How long have you two discussed the possibility of this? And was this planned, or was it a surprise that you two were going to be on this card?
This was planned, but it's exciting that it's finally happening. I get to defend my interim title, and she's fighting and she's defending her was Latin American WBC as well. So, it's we're gonna feel like champions. We have to feel like champions, and I'm glad that I get to share the ring with my sister that day. This feels like, honestly, this feels like my first not pay-per-view, main event, because the last one I was in the B side, but this time it's all about me, and I'm excited to share with my sister.
All right. Thanks very much, Jake. Our next question is going to come from Kirk Jackson, Scope Network. Kirk, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Thank you, Andrew. I have a couple quick questions for both fighters, starting with Sebastian. Have you mapped out long-term how high you may venture weight class-wise, considering your frame and your skill set?
I don't know yet. That's up to God, honestly. Right now, I'm still comfortable at 54. Maybe next year, maybe the year after. Maybe my whole career is going to be at 54, but right now we're comfortable at it. You guys will know when we can't make it no more, because we'll just jump weight.
And my second question is, coming off such a significant win against Erickson Lubin this past April, how do you maintain your focus in your first defense against a battle-tested opponent like Carlos Ocampo? Like, what do you do to prepare to mentally lock in what looks to be another tough encounter?
I stay professional. Not just Lubin, but these last, say, 4 fights, they all been hard fights. These all have been ranked fighters. This is not going to be any different. Lubin wasn't any different. I've been doing this. I felt like my whole time with PBC and my career, I've been fighting tough challenges. Again, this is not going to be different. I just have to, this time I'm the main event, I guess. That's the only thing. But other than that, it's the same job, and then I need to just do my job.
Thank you, Sebastian. And for Carlos, does playing the role of underdog work to your advantage, and why?
Bueno, para esta pelea, Carlos, llegás de punto, no de banca. ¿Sentís que esto te favorece?
Creo que sí, tuvimos tiempo para prepararnos, hacer una muy buena preparación para esta pelea.
I do think that being the underdog favors me, but the most important part of everything is that we prepared really well for this fight, and you're gonna see how when the time comes.
What would be the next logical step for you if you were to beat Sebastian October 8th?
Digamos que ganás contra Sebastián el 8 de octubre. ¿Cuál sería el próximo paso lógico para vos, hipotéticamente?
La verdad no me he puesto a pensar en ello. Yo solamente tengo en mi mente de momento la pelea del 8 de octubre.
I really haven't thought about it, to be honest with you. My whole focus is set on October 8th. Nothing beyond that.
Great. Thanks, Kirk. Our last questions are going to come from Keith Idek at Boxing Scene. Keith, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Yes, I just had a question for Sebastian. Sebastian, I know you're obviously focused on Ocampo, but you have to keep your eye on the fight between Tim Tszyu and Jermell Charlo, because you potentially would fight the winner. I was just wondering who you think will win that fight and why.
I have Charlo. I think he's stronger than him again. It's like another Castaño fight.
You think Tim Tszyu can give him some competition, though, in that sense? Because Castaño obviously gave him a tough fight.
I do think so. But we'll see when the fight presents itself. Again, I think he's too strong for him, though.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you, Keith. And thank you to all the media that joined us today. Really appreciate Sebastian and Carlos as well. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Ray.
All right. Greatly appreciated, Andrew. And yes, thank you to Carlos Ocampo and Sebastian Fundora. And you know what? Just to kind of piggyback on the fact of Sebastian Fundora talking about how he has fought since his PBC debut, he has had to fight some top-level competition. That's absolutely true. Let me give you a quick story before we wind down. I remember when Sebastian Fundora fought in his PBC debut at the Armory in Minneapolis on April 13th of 2018 against a very hard-hitting Vashon Owens. And at the time, Fundora was relatively green, as you would like to say, when it comes to prize fighting terms. And he went out there, he fought a hometown fighter in his backyard of Minneapolis, and he finished him off in the 5th round by TKO. And at the time, before that fight, Samson Lukowicz, the promoter of Sebastian Fundora, told me, much like how he did with David Benavidez, he goes, I got somebody special. And lo and behold, Sebastian Fundora is the interim WBC super welterweight champion of the world. He defends that championship against Carlos Ocampo on Saturday, October 8th on Showtime Championship Boxing, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific time. Tickets are available, AXS.com, promoted by TGB Promotions and Samson Boxing. Before I let the fighters go, Carlos Ocampo, give us your final thoughts as you head into your matchup on October 8th.
Bueno, Carlos, danos algunas observaciones, algunos comentarios finales antes de terminar con esta conferencia.
Pues yo pienso que va a ser una verdadera guerra arriba del ring el 8 de octubre. Una pelea durísima para ambos. Creo que es una gran función la del día 8 de octubre. Peleas buenísimas. Todas las peleas creo que van a ser peleas de choque.
Well, it's not just my fight, but the entire card is gonna be spectacular from top to bottom. You're gonna see a true quality clashes from beginning and to end. And as far as my fight goes, you're gonna see a war in the ring. I can guarantee you that. We're both gonna give our all, and it's gonna be a great show for everybody tuning in. Sorry about that.
Well, and also we appreciate Carlos Ocampo's time, but Carlos Ocampo, 34-1, 22 wins coming by way of knockout. I very much believe in what Carlos Ocampo has said, in the sense that one loss does not define your career. He lost to Errol Spence. Guess what? Everybody has lost to Errol Spence, and this is a new weight class for Carlos Ocampo. He's been widely successful here at 154, and now he takes this momentum as he takes on and challenges Sebastian Fundora. Sebastian, as we get ready to let you go, give us your final thoughts ahead of your matchup against Carlos Ocampo on Saturday, October 8th, Showtime Championship Boxing from Dignity Health Sports Park, known as the War Grounds.
Well, we have 2 hard-hitting Mexicans fighting in the main event, so it's going to be a show. It's going to be a great show for Southern California. Most of the fans over there are going to be Mexican, so you're going to feel the energy right away. And but not only me, you have my sister fighting as well. So if you get there early enough, you're going to see my sister fight as well. And she's going to put on a great show. So it's going to be a great night. It's going to be a night of Fundoras.
It's going to be a night of the fighting Fundoras is what it is, my man. That's what it's going to be. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Sebastian Fundora and Carlos Ocampo. Thank you so much to the media for joining us. We look forward to talking with you during Fight Week in Southern California. Again, Sebastian Fundora, Carlos Ocampo for the Super Welterweight Championship of the World, the interim WBC Super Welterweight Championship of the World, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 Pacific time on Showtime Championship Boxing, presented by Premier Boxing Champions. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everybody. Take care.